What's happening, dogs? Mr. Allen here with some polynomial long division in this video. We've got a couple examples for you. We've got to find the quotient of each. For the first one, I have 6x squared plus 7x minus 20 divided by 2x plus 5. So here's how we set this thing up. I've got 2x plus 5 on the outside, and then 6x squared plus 7x minus 20 on the inside. Now, for polynomial long division, I always use that when I have a lead coefficient in my binomial, or if I'm dealing with, say, a quadratic or something else that I'm dividing by. If it was just like x plus 7 or x minus 2 or x plus 8, I would use synthetic division. I'll show that in another video. But long division is kind of like your catch-all. It's like your quadratic formula of division where you could use it for anything, but it's a process, okay? It'll work for them all, but it's a process. So if I have this lead coefficient here, I do favor long division. There's ways to do it with synthetic, but I'm not a huge fan. All right, so we're going to use this 2x right out in front here. We're going to pair it with the 6x squared to start. I'm going to be using this 2x throughout the process of the long division, but it will change which one I pair it with throughout the process. So I like to use some colors when I do this so I can keep everything nice and organized. So how do I deal with this? Well, I'm going to take 6x squared and divide it by 2x, which would give me 3x. And if you're not sure how I got that, you can always do a little side math here. 6x squared divided by 2x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. X squared divided by x is x. All right? That goes up top there. Some teachers will tell you to put it over the 7x. I really don't care. I don't see a reason for that. I just throw it up top. The organization piece, though, comes into play here in a moment. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. That's where they got to be paired up with their like terms. Make sure you are organized, all right? If your teacher, though, wants you to put it above its like term, go for it. Not something that I require for my students. All right, next thing here. We are going to subtract these two from the two above. Now, you can just remember that you're subtracting, or my personal preference, draw my line, change the sign, and now I can just add vertically. These two right here are going to cancel. They always will. Otherwise, you did something wrong. 7 minus 15 is going to be negative 8x. Then we drop down that 20, so minus 20. And we're going to start that process all over again. So much fun. It's the same like 3-4 steps over and over and over again for long division, which is nice. But if you screw anything up, everything's wrong. Okay? So be very, very careful with your steps. Make sure you're double checking things. Don't make some like little tiny negative multiplication, some kind of mistake that's just screws everything up. All right. So now I'm going to look at that 2x again, as I stated, right? We're always going to be using that 2x, but it's paired up with negative 8x this time. So negative 8x divided by 2x is negative 4. And if you struggle with getting that, toss it off to the side for now. Negative 8x divided by 2x. X's cancel. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So if you got to do a little side math, totes cool. All right. Do your side math if you got to, but try to get away from that eventually because there is so much work that we're doing. You know, that'll take a little bit of time. But if you got to do it for now, go for it. All right. Now it's negative 4 times 2x is negative 8x. They're going to match up every time because when I draw my line, change the sign, they'll cancel out. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. Draw my line, change the sign. And again, I like to use the colors because I can see like the stuff I'm doing, how I'm changing things. If I'm always using, say, pencil on that, as much as pencil's great for math, I won't see that I changed the sign and whatnot. So the colors make it pop. Got to have the math pop. These cancel. These cancel. I'm left with 0. So my answer here is just 3x minus 4. That is the quotient. No remainder, bibbidi-boppity. All right? Sometimes they ask you to write them as factors and things like that. Well, I could rewrite 6x squared plus 7x minus 20 as 2x plus 5 times what I got here, 3x minus 4. That would give me the same thing. Kind of cool. If I divide it out, I can multiply it back together, right? That's math, baby. That's math. All right. Next one. A little more to this one. So when we write this up, okay, if there is a missing term, we have to put a placeholder. And we have a missing term. There is no x squared here. So here's what I mean by that. We have our 3x plus 6 that's on the outside. Then I have 6x cubed. There's no x squared, so I'll put plus 0x squared plus 15x minus 3. If you don't do that, everything gets unorganized. Your like terms are not together. So always be on the lookout for missing terms. Sometimes you have multiple missing terms. The same goes in synthetic division. If you're doing synthetic division, you got to put a placeholder in there as well. I'll show that in another video. I got synthetic division videos on the channel as well, so be sure to check those out if you need. All right, let's go through it again. I'll start with pink, just like I did before. Always working with that first guy there throughout the process. Going to use it a few more times in this one, at least once more. And I got my 6x cubed. All right. So if I divide those two, 6x cubed divided by 3x is 2x squared. 6 divided by 3 is 2. X cubed divided by x is x squared. If you got to do some side math, go for it. I'm going to not do side math on this one. Next up, got to multiply this guy through. So 2x squared times 3x is 6x cubed. 2x squared times 6 is plus 12x squared. Now I got to draw my line. Change the sign. These two cancel. They always will. And I've got negative 12x squared. Snoop Dogg, drop it like it's hot. Start my process over again. Cool. Time for the blue marker. Working with the 3x and the negative 12x squared. So what's negative 12x squared divided by 3x? Well, negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. X squared divided by x is just x. You'll notice that we're dropping by a degree each time, right? And also, I start with a cubic on this one. My answer here, my quotient, is quadratic because I divided it by a linear function, right? So be on the lookout for those things that make mathematical sense. If I take a cubic function divided by a linear function, my result is a quadratic. If I take a degree of 4 divided by a degree of 2, I'm going to be left with a quadratic. If I take a degree of 4 divided by a degree of 1, I'll be left with a degree of 3. So be on the lookout for those kinds of things, make those connections, because then it helps make everything else kind of make sense as you go through these processes. All right. Negative 4x times 3x is negative 12x squared. Negative 4x times 6 is negative 24x. Draw a line. Change the sign. These two cancel. They always will. And then I've got 15x plus 24x. That's going to be 39x. Snoop Dogg, drop it like it's hot. Start my process over one last time. One more time. All right. 39x divided by 3x. 39 divided by 3 is what, 13? The x's cancel out, so plus 13. Makes sense, right? I'm going from squared to linear to constant. Makes mathematical sense. Hopefully, if not, it's okay. We'll work on that. 13 times 3x is 39x. Those two match up because they're going to cancel here in a moment. 13 times 6, that's 10 times 6 is 60. 3 times 6 is 18, so 78. 18 plus 60 is 78. Hopefully that's right. Mental math is hard. All right, draw my line. Change the sign. These two cancel. They always will. I did that in orange. I did that in the matching color last time. There we go. And then I have, let's see here, negative 78, negative 3. That's negative 81 as my remainder. All right. So how do we write this thing? Well, I have my 2x squared minus 4x plus 13 minus 81 over what I was dividing by, which is 3x plus 6. Nice. You could divide all that by 3 if you'd like. 27 over x plus 2. I'm not going to do that. I like to leave it as what we were dividing by, but that could be like a multiple choice thing. Like, is that equivalent? It is. Anywho, cool. There we go. So if you have a remainder, that's how you'd write it. If it's negative, you do subtraction here. You could do addition and make the numerator negative. I think it looks better with the subtraction there. That's just my preference, and it's my video, so I'm going to do what I want. So what does this tell us, though? Let's see here. 2x plus 5. It's a factor of that guy right there because it had no remainder. Divided out clean, right? Over here, 3x plus 6 is not a factor of that because it had a remainder. It did not divide out clean. So those are questions we can also ask you to say, is 3x plus 6 a factor of 6x cubed plus 15x minus 3? It is not, due to it having a remainder. Did not divide out nicely, so it's not a factor, okay? So be able to look out for those different types of questions we can ask you on a test beyond just being able to do long division. But long division does not go away. It's used quite a bit moving forward in mathematics. Well, not quite a bit, but here and there, as you have to do things with like rational functions and whatnot, there's some long division that comes back. So it's not going away. Learn how to do it. It is a bit of a process, but it is the same 4 steps, 3 or 4 steps over and over and over again. Get into a groove, the math groove, and have a great day.